You know, whether you realize it or not, you're actually facing a high-stakes choice every single day. It's literally the choice between just blindly following the herd or stepping up and achieving true, unshakable personal sovereignty. So welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to clinically deconstruct the architecture of your reality. We're looking at a framework that completely strips away all the noise of modern life to reveal a pretty stark truth. Most of us, we're just renting space in a world designed by someone else.
Okay, let's dive right into this really provocative question. What does a map actually do? I mean, we are deeply conditioned to seek out maps, guides, and proven formulas for our lives, mostly because, well, they feel safe, right? But if you rely on a map, you're actually operating in a completely passive state. You're walking a trail that has already been paved, which means you are essentially walking straight into the past. It is a historical trap.
Part 1. The Illusion of the Crowd, Breaking the Paradigm.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the trap of the crowd. It really just comes down to energy distribution. Think about it. 90% of human energy is spent passively consuming reality. Just scrolling, reacting, watching, conforming. Only 10% is actually spent generating it. And here's the kicker. When you exist in that 90%, you aren't just wasting time. You're basically acting as a battery. You're draining your own vital energy to power the algorithms and the realities created by that top 10%.
Let's objectively break down the societal conditioning of this crowd. First off, they operate as actors in a totally prescribed script. They're addicted to external validation, constantly needing a screen or a peer group to tell them they're doing okay. And because of that, they are absolutely terrified of silence. They have to fill every single void with noise. Ultimately, they're driven by the illusion of safety. But the very moment you seek external validation to dictate your worth, you become a slave to the algorithm of others. You are no longer the author of your own choices.
Section 2. Creators do not use maps. Forging the unknown.
Clinically speaking, what is a map? It's simply a historical document that exclusively records exactly where others have already been. That's it. And that is exactly why true creators completely reject them. Because honestly, you cannot forge into the unknown using a record of the past. If you are out there building something entirely new, your own unique reality, a map isn't just useless, it's actively deceptive.
Following a map is admitting your destiny is to be a tourist in someone else's life. I really want to let that sink in for a second. By constantly seeking permission and looking for those proven paths, you are completely destroying your own unique potential. You're just visiting a destination that someone else built, rather than constructing your own empire.
It's absolutely crucial to contrast these two paradigms sharply. Over on the left, we have the crowd follower. This person seeks permission, relies heavily on historical maps, and avoids friction at literally all costs. But on the right, the true sovereign operates on a totally different frequency. For them, action equals truth. They forge virgin paths, and this is key. They don't avoid friction. No, they use friction as fuel. When a sovereign encounters resistance, they don't retreat. They capture that exact energy and use it to propel themselves forward.
Section 3. The mental point of origin, the source of reality.
We can define this concept almost like an established law of physics. The mental point of origin is the state of being the absolute unshakable source of your own validation, your own decisions, and your own reality. It means your center of gravity has shifted entirely inward. You no longer reflect the light of others, you emit your own. External comparison just simply ceases to exist, all because internal power has totally replaced it.
So the really crucial point here is this. You are a one-of-one operating system. Because your specific experiences, your vision, and your internal code are entirely unique to you, making any sort of comparison between yourself and another person is fundamentally a mathematical error. When you compare yourself to others, you shift your gravity outward. You're basically surrendering your one-of-one status just to play a game you weren't even designed for.
In fact, comparing these two mindsets is a complete category error. Just look at the breakdown. A status seeker is competitive, desperately seeking applause, and constantly avoiding pain. But a sovereign creator, they are creative, they seek raw truth, and they actively embrace necessary friction. You can't measure the depth of the ocean using a ruler meant for measuring height. If you are operating on the right side of this paradigm, the rules of the left side simply do not apply to you at all.
Part 4. The Power of Silence, the Tactical Void.
The one who is silent closes the deal. Did you feel that? That deliberate pause? That right there is the immense leverage and magnetic presence of absolute silence. You see, in a world that is completely addicted to noise, silence is actually the ultimate display of power.
And this builds into a very strict tactical framework that we call the physics of silence. Step 1, you withdraw initiative. Step 2, you create a vacuum. And step 3, you force the external world to project and reveal its position. Look, when you constantly explain yourself, you're actually ceding your power to the listener. You're practically begging for their validation. But by withdrawing and staying silent, you force them to step into that void and show their hand.
Explaining is ceding the frame. When you take action without feeling this desperate need to justify it, your silence becomes an impenetrable mirror. All the chaotic noise of the crowd just bounces right off it. It creates an unshakable presence that naturally reorders the chaos of any room you walk into. You don't have to shout to be heard. Your sheer lack of a need to speak commands the absolute authority of the space.
Section 5. Architect of your reality. Fusing worlds.
A true architect really understands the ultimate goal here is not to choose between the spiritual and the material. No, the goal is to completely fuse them into one sovereign architecture. Your internal spiritual core provides that unshakable peace and a pure signal, that mental point of origin we talked about. But your external material execution, that provides the infrastructure, the leverage, and the physical power to actually manifest it. One without the other is just incomplete. You absolutely must integrate the silence of your core with the loud execution of the material world.
And this brings us straight to the sovereign mandate. This is the actionable philosophy that you have to apply right now. First, action equals truth. Thoughts? They're just theories until you physically move. Second, decouple your actions from external rewards. Do things because they align with your code, not for the applause. Third, ruthlessly filter out energetic vampires who only drain your system. And finally, voluntarily choose your own chains, because true freedom isn't the absence of responsibility. It is the raw power to select the burdens that will build your empire.
You are the point of origin. Everything else is just decoration. It's time to stop consuming the reality that others have built just to keep you distracted. Stop giving your precious energy to that 90%. You have to step up and become the deliberate, totally unapologetic generator of your own world.
So I'm going to leave you staring into the dark with this ultimate choice. In this modern era of relentless digital chaos, are you going to remain a reactive consumer, just wandering around a map that someone else drew? Or will you embrace the silence, lock into your mental point of origin, and become the sole architect of your reality? The choice, as always, is entirely yours.